Now we're going to talk about reflexes. Reflexes are automatic responses to a stimulus. We usually think of reflexes most easily when we're talking about pain reflexes, but not all reflexes are a response to pain. When the doctor uses, when the doctor uses that little hammer they have to tap you on the knee, right there, then they are testing a reflex in your leg. And the reflexes that the doctors test are reflexes that your body uses all the time, every time you're standing or walking or running. Your body is using those reflexes. Of course, if you were to touch a hot stove and get burned, you would pull your hand away. This is important. I know it's on the next lecture exam. Reflexes do require part of the central nervous system, okay? Now, there are some reflexes that go directly to the brain, but reflexes can also happen that only involve the spinal cord. And we're talking about spinal reflexes here. So, important to remember that if you don't have a central nervous system that's working at all, then you can't have a reflex motion. However, if something's damaged a person's spinal cord so that their spinal cord's still alive, it just doesn't connect to their brain anymore, like a paraplegic or a quadriplegic, they can still have excellent reflexes. Let's look at it, okay? So this is not a typical reflex, but I like to talk about this one because this is the reflex arc that the doctor is testing when they tap your knee with that little hammer, okay? So here's the little hammer tapping your knee. By the way, what is it tapping? This is your part of your quadriceps group. Your quadriceps group, their tendon joins and goes over the patella, and technically that is the patellar ligament. That's a kind of a technicality, we don't care. Now, when he taps that part with your tendon, with the little hammer, it causes a sharp little sudden tug here, and there these, turn it. What is going on? I don't know. And these, I'm in the way. There. And these little cells, they're going to go, oh, something's happening. And they send that information here. It goes down this nerve. I want you to notice it goes through the dorsal root. Cell bodies are at the dorsal root ganglion. And then it goes into here, into the posterior horn of our butterfly. And it actually speaks directly to cells in the spinal cord, and cells in the spinal cord will decide, oh, I think we should contract these muscles. Now, this is the simplest of the reflexes, and it's the one that they test when they hit you with that little hammer. However, let's look here. Okay? This is a typical reflex arc, and this is the one that I want you to know could be part of your lab midterm. The 5 components of a typical reflex arc. The 5 components are going to be some type of a sensory receptor, like let's say you stepped on a tack, right? And then there's going to be a sensory neuron. A sensory neuron is a nerve cell that carries that information into your spinal cord through the dorsal root, right? And then there's going to be an interneuron. The interneurons, they are cells right there inside of the gray matter of the spinal cord that have been given the authority to make decisions about what should happen. And when you step on a tack, they go ahead and make the decision, oh, we should pull our foot away before we get hurt even more. And they will hand off that command to a motor neuron, and the motor neuron goes down here, and then we've got a muscle or other effector. Now, let's go back here. I told you that reflex arcs require part of the central nervous system, and in this case, it's the spinal cord. Now, what is the reason for this reflex? Well, it's not to entertain people at parties, it's not to entertain the doctor. Has anyone ever had one of the, I think we've all had one of those friends that when you're standing in line and they're behind you, they're going to hit the back of your knee, right? So, so there you are standing here, standing, waiting in there in line, hit the back of the knee, and next thing you know, you're going like that. But you don't fall down, right? And why? Because when they tapped the back of your knee, suddenly this area got stretched. And when this area got suddenly stretched, then it said, whoa, that guy did that stupid thing again. And this motor neuron said, no worries, and caused these muscles to contract, and you stood up. Right? So when we're standing and something like that happens, or when you're walking on uneven pavement and suddenly there's like a change in what you expected under your foot, these reflexes keep us from falling down. And then when it comes to pain reflexes like this is the reason that if I touch something super I touch something super hot, I will pull my hand back and my hand will be way back here by the time my brain goes, oh shoot, I just burned myself. That's because we can't wait for our brain to process it. We would get much more injured if we were waiting for a conscious choice. So our spinal cord up here at our neck area is going to get the information that we've burned ourselves. And it's like, I'm not waiting for the brain. I'm commanding that hand to get pulled away. So those are our reflexes. So make sure you know the parts of a reflex arc, and that reflexes always require part of the central nervous system, and spinal reflexes require part of the spinal cord. And by the way, if someone has a severed spinal cord because of a bad injury, then if you pinch their toe, their leg still pulls away as long as this part of their spinal cord is still intact.